So, these are the remaining parts: local information gathering, lateral movement, pivoting, and persistence, which we've touched on in other parts, but this is the more thorough discussion of it. So they're looking for information that you can gain once you get on the system. One of the things you might want to get is obviously passwords or hashes, or credit card information, or whatever the company regards as valuable. I learned a lot about this at the CPTC contest, which they explained very nicely this year what they were looking for. And they said actually getting root is just the first step, and that's not even the most important step. The most important step is to find out what errors there are in the system that affect the business. And you need to know what the business cares about most and find out what's going to affect what we care about the most. And in this, the CPTC, it was a voting company, so what they cared about was something that would alter the votes. And they wanted you to focus on that, and they didn't care so much necessarily about getting privileges on the host. What they cared about was, can you really alter the votes? Because it turned out that there were like cryptographic checksums in the database. So even if you had root on the server, it didn't necessarily mean you could alter the votes. You'd have to also overcome other defenses, and that's what they were mostly interested in. So you can search for files. If you're looking for passwords, you can just use search inside Metasploit, and that will search for passwords. In files in the system, this is on the remote system, so it's looking through CZAMP, finding all the files that are actually named password, which is of course something people would do if they're really sleazy, but that a lot of people used to, like especially in the time of this XAMPP PHP stuff and WinSCP and all these utilities. There was an innocent age, and people wrote this stuff and just put passwords all over the place. And as I've seen, Android is still in that innocent age where everybody's Safeway and everybody just thinks it's fine to just store your password all over the place, as if nobody else was ever going to get your phone. They just haven't thought it through. But there was a time when people just didn't think about security. And then there's, of course, there's key logging. If you can compromise the device while the person is actively using it, then you can, of course, capture keystrokes. And you can even trick them into logging in by popping up a window saying they've been locked out and they have to log in. And if you, now they originally probably got them to click on a link or download a file. So if it locks out immediately, that would be too obvious. So they have this smart locker script that will wait a few minutes and then lock them out. So they hopefully don't realize it's the effect of the malware they just installed. Then of course you want to migrate. So after you've got system, you can go anywhere you want. And then you can do a process list with PS and find a good process to go to, like WinLogon would be a good one, and then migrate there. The WinLogon process takes your password when you first log on, and I think it continues running until you log off. Yeah?
Is the point of locking out the user so that they type their password in again? Yes,
that's the idea. You trick them, or you pop, and that was a big thing that came out about a couple months ago on Apple. There's an API call that will pop up an iTunes login box that looks exactly like any other iTunes login box. So you can totally pop up a box and make them log in when they're not really logging into Apple.
But at least on Windows, you would have the chance to just dump the password using Mimikatz?
You could, but you might want, for example, if you could get the password of the currently logged in user, you might be able to get it that way, but you might not be able to get it. And you might want to get other passwords, like the PayPal password and stuff. So they pop up boxes. But yeah, it's a good point. Anyway, then there's a lot of credential gathering scripts. You'll see them here to attack certain products like Dyn DNS and many other things. If they have any of these third-party products installed, you can steal them. And so WinSCP is one tool. I actually recommended this to Kurt. Something I found out, I'd forgotten, if you were looking in the lab, the college used to use this thing called SSH Secure Shell. And if you try to use it, it doesn't work anymore because it hasn't been updated since 2003. And the problem is the standards of HTTPS certificates have gone way up, as we talked about before, because of first the Snowden leaks and then the SHA-1 collisions. People have rushed on later versions of TLS. So if you have a certificate from 10 years ago, it won't be accepted by anything anymore. And an old SSH client will no longer talk to modern servers. They're not using the old protocols that they expect. For example, it's using SHA-2 and such. So you had to upgrade to WinSCP is the modern protocol if you want to have something on your Windows that will do secure file transfers. And this can store your passwords for your convenience, and it stores them in a really lousy way. with just like the MD5 hash or something, or I think that's actually reversibly encrypted. So anyway, you can use this to steal the WinSCP passwords, and then they are presumably easy to crack. I haven't tested them, but I think they're just MD5 hashes, so pretty bad. All right, so you can steal them there. You get the password, and here's another. Hey, there you are. Good. Yeah. All right. Let me find the right spot to stop and pass it on to you.
All right. So, hello. My name is Steve Nelson. I'm a newly hired employment specialist here at the school. How many of you have used a Career Center before for anything? The Career Center here. Okay. Career Center here can help you with basic job preparation, career exploration, career advising. You can do sort of an entry-level type resume. What I have been hired for, and this new position created for, is to actually help you at the end of your studies, and maybe in the last year, prepare for actually finding jobs and internships and meeting employers. All right? How many of you currently work in IT right now? 1, 2, I've met you before. 2, who else? 3? Okay. How many of you are planning on doing so in about a year? Oh, wow, almost everybody. I guess, Sam, nobody takes 124 if they're not serious.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. I am new to this whole field. I did, however, have like 12 classes in all the different computer science and networking introductory type subjects about 10 years ago. Taking a few more recently, taking CNIT 120 right now. So I'm a little bit familiar with what you're studying, what you're going through. And I have blown up a lot in the last 3 months on what kinds of opportunities are out there, what employers are looking for, what barriers are, how to best place yourself for jobs. And I can work with you one-on-one for that kind of a thing, or I can just send you emails about events and job fairs. You can pretty much, if it's related to finding a job or an internship or meeting employers, I can help you, okay? So I'm going to send around in a while a sign-in sheet, okay, that if you want me to work with you, you put your email, I will send you a link to fill out a really short career services form, and then I will contact you to set up an appointment if you want. But after you sign that form, you will be on my mailing list, all right? There's opportunities out there right now that people are taking advantage of that have been shared with them. There's hiring events, there's actual job positions. I had 2 people hired just recently in IT and one in teaching. One's teaching programming, making $40 an hour, teaching it to some kids at Mission Techies. So those kinds of opportunities will come your way if you put your name on that mailing list, all right? Okay. Here we go. All right. How many of you love IT? 124. Well, you gotta love IT to be here, right? You gotta love security. All right, that's good. So you're in the right field if you love it, okay? It's really important to make sure you're in the right place because, you know, finding a job, picking kind of a way of life that you do for 40 hours a week, it's probably the most important decision you'll ever make. When people are at the end of their lives and they survey them as to what was the most important decision you ever made in your life, most of them, they don't say who we married, how many kids we had, where we lived, how much money we made. It's what they actually did for 40 hours a week during their life. The content, what they contributed, how they shared themselves in the world. So it's really important to think about that as you're deciding where you go, what you're going to do, okay? Make it count. All right, also, having fun at work. How many of you have worked in environments that were a drag, right? How many of you have worked in environments that were awesome? All right, it's about half and half. We've all had both. You know the difference, okay? So when you're out there looking for, so you got your field, you know what you're gonna do, right? You love what you do. Now you gotta find a place that you love working there. That's half the battle for the quality of your life, the quality of the life of the people around you, is working in a place that has a decent culture, right? What's a D? You can tell what a culture is. You walk into a place to interview, you walk around, Are people smiling at you and saying hi, right? Or are they like, oh, that person's coming to take my job? Or, you know, just the way that they interview you. Are they positive? Are they asking you questions about yourself that are meaningful? And then also, what is the company culture like? You can go on Glassdoor and some other rating agencies and look at how many stars companies have. Those are really accurate as far as my experience goes. If a place has 5 stars, it's probably cool to work. If it has 2.5 stars, you probably don't want to work there, right? So put some time into that. You're going to put time into searching for all these jobs. You're going to put time into networking and meeting employers. Put some time into determining the culture of the company. It'll make a huge difference in the quality of your life. Okay? All right. Also, if you're lucky enough, try to find, so you're doing IT. You love IT, that's great. Try to do IT in an environment that's also related to something fun. I know a young lady, she loves to travel. She does IT for Expedia. Okay? It just fits really good. If you can find a match like that, it'll make your life even more enjoyable. Right? All right. One of the most common questions students ask me when I meet with them one-on-one is, what the hell do I study? Everybody says JavaScript is the world's most popular language, yet more Java programmers are, there's more Java programming out there than anything else, right? Should I learn the newest thing? Should I learn Haskell? Should I learn Python? Should I, you know, all these different choices, right? I've had, in the last month, I've had people tell me, Java's still the thing. No, it's JavaScript. No, you gotta do Python. If you're gonna embed anything in anything, you have to do C# or C++. You know, there's so many different opinions. A lot of it depends on what you wanna do, right? But taking these classes, it's not easy. Right? Figure out what it is that you need to take. Don't just take stuff. And the way you do that is you come and you talk to Sam, right? Or you go and you talk to Craig Persico over in computer science. Or you go and you talk to Claudia DeFrira. Or you read their little things they have on the website about how to decide what languages to take. All right? You talk to people in industry. And you do that by going to events. We'll get into that a little bit later. But taking some time to figuring this stuff out. The other thing is, a lot of companies say, we want to know that you can learn a language, right? We want to know that you can program in something, and we will teach you the latest thing that we're learning. So having that, being able to demonstrate and show to an employer that you are a lifelong learner, that you're somebody who has been able to pick some stuff up on your own and learn it, do projects, show the projects, talk about them, say what problem they solved. If they can see that you can do that, they're going to be much more likely to hire you, even if you don't have that huge wish list of 15 to 20 languages that some job announcements have, right? I mean, who really knows that? Who knows 15 languages, aside from Sam, of course?
But I like Python as a chainsaw. That's a good idea.
As a what?
As a chainsaw.
As a chainsaw.
That's what I'm using here for that reason.
Okay. Yeah, so...
Indiscriminate, sloppy, destructive force. That's what we want here.
Okay. Great. My kind of tool. Maybe I'll learn that one. Yeah, and so in addition to your advisors, you have your instructors. How many of you go to office hours? How many of you arrange office hours? That to be arranged, all right? So most teachers, instructors, professors get into teaching because they love their field and they want to share it with other people, right? Most of them. And they're sitting alone in their office hours. It's kind of sad, you know? Go visit them sometimes. I've actually, you know, if a teacher won't answer my emails and they won't answer my phone calls, I show up in office hours, right? And it takes them 2 seconds to go, who is this guy? And I tell them who I am, and they're, oh, you know, happy. I think they're just happy to have somebody come to office hours. Okay, so take advantage of that. They know the answers to most of these questions. How many of you have ever gone to office hours? Okay, all right, so you at least know that they exist. All right, so and don't wander around. This is not the era where we wander around with unanswered questions in our heads, right? There's a lot of folks that know the answers, and then you've got the internet. How many of you have ever pondered and wondered about something for a really long time, And then you realize, oh crap, I could have looked that up like 5 days ago on the internet, right? Or I could have made one phone call to somebody and got the answer to that question. So if you're sitting around wondering what I should do, what languages I should take, what should I go into the web, should I go into IT, should I go into cybersecurity, should I do programming, start talking to people. You can talk to me a little bit. I can probably point you in the right direction, but there's better people to talk to about those kind of questions than me. All right, job search. How many think job search is intimidating? 1, 2, 3. Okay. The rest of you are like, no problem, I got it covered. I got it all lined up. The day I graduate, I'm stepping, boom, right into something else, right? Okay. Job search is pretty intimidating. It's intimidating for me. I've had hard job searches and I've had pretty easy job searches. So, but at root, you got to remember it's really simple. Okay. In tech, you got to have the skills. You got to have them. If you don't have them, don't fake it. In a whiteboard interview, they're going to find out really fast, right? Save yourself the trouble. I've had people tell me stories. Yeah, I went to that interview. I didn't really know what I was talking about, and I got up and left in the middle of the interview because I couldn't answer the question. Right? That happens. Sometimes people pass out, actually. So you got to have the skills. And how do you show somebody? I mean, what does it mean to be able to convince someone that you have skills? Right? Do they want to just hear a bunch of memorized protocols or memorized security, encrypting systems? You know, in this order, and this one happened in this year. No, right? They want to actually hear about projects that you did and how you solved them, how you solved the problems that were part of those projects. They want you to be able to explain that. And so when you're doing your assignments, if you find yourself, I don't know exactly what you're doing in this class, but there are classes here in CNIT that are largely about memorization. And if you go to an interview, you're not going to be able to talk about anything meaningful to an employer, right? I noticed that in a lot of the materials that we study, at the end, there's suggested projects, right? Oh, and you have 1 million projects on your website, right? People that are doing those projects are the ones that are going to get hired. All right? I had a guy, he gave me a resume the other day, had a bunch of things that he had learned. He put on the resume. It looked pretty good. But none of them, I couldn't get my hands on any of them. All right? And I said, well, then give me the actual list of things that you did. Right? And he gave me a list like 30 items long of things he had actually done. He's in these programs here. And you know, I can't wait to connect the theory to the actual projects because I think he's going to be in pretty good shape. But it didn't occur to him to present himself that way. All right? So that's how you handle your skills. Make sure you really have them. Make sure you present them in a way that makes it seem like you can actually do them, not that you just have book knowledge. All right. Sharing who you are. Sounds simple. Okay? This question, do they want you around for 40 hours a week? All right? There's lots of really smart people out there. There's lots of people with a lot of tech skills, but do they have the basic social skills to make it in a job? These days, everything is done in teams. You're Stuart, right?
Yes.
Hackers Club.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I just heard Mustafa got hired.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And somebody else got fired. Right?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Sure.
Okay. I mean, I'm just...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my point is, teamwork, social skills, right? It's super important to getting these multi-project, bigger projects done. You have to communicate with people. You have to talk enough, but not too much, right? You know, there's people, you see them, you're like, wow, I don't know why they keep talking. Don't they realize that everybody's eyes are now glazed over? Nobody's paying attention to them. Actually, it's very interesting. People who can keep talking when no one is paying attention to them usually have sociopathic tendencies. Okay? So it's really, you know, so learning when to talk, when not to talk. You've all heard step up, step back, right? You haven't heard that? Step up and speak when it's appropriate. Step back and let somebody else talk. When you're done, and hopefully you're done at a reasonable amount of time. Unless you're management, don't talk too much more than other folks, and don't talk too much less than other folks. My wife, she's in management in pharmaceutical advertising right now. She has an employee of hers that has the basic skills, but she never speaks up in meetings, and they're letting her go. Nice person, has the skills, she can't communicate, and they're letting her go, right? So, a lot of subtleties to the soft skills involved in working in the team environments they have these days. A lot of public speaking in almost any job. How many of you have ever worked in an agile environment? Really? Oh, that's a lot. Okay, so what? You get up every day, right? And you say what you did yesterday. You say what you're going to do today. You say what problems you had yesterday, what challenges, and you get feedback from people, and you just keep it moving. And then you do the same thing the next day. You don't get to hide out for a few days and recover from being nervous about speaking, right? You are on the spot, all right? Did I basically sum it up more or less? Yeah? Okay, so it's just the way things are these days, especially in the software environment. I don't know if they're having those kind of meetings in security, but I would imagine so. How do you start your day, right? You know, what problems did we have last night when everybody went home? Yeah. So keep that in mind. If you've had issues in any environments before with social skills, that very clearly indicates something you need to work on. And they're not that difficult. If you keep the principles of like, I have to listen to people. I'm going to have to really listen to people, right? I have to look at them and I have to nod my head and really listen to what they're saying. And if I don't understand, I have to ask them questions. Okay? That'll get you a long way. That one thing right there. The other one is talk enough, but not too much. Okay? And if you don't know how many kids the woman sitting 2 desks down from you has, right? And you don't know where she went on vacation on the last holiday, something's wrong. All right? You have to get to know people a little bit. You have to talk to people, communicate with people, make them feel that you're part of their community. Right? And you'll find once you start doing that, whoa, you are part of their community. Make sense? All right. Anybody got any questions about that? We can talk about that quite a bit in meeting. We might even do a workshop if we get enough people interested. There are soft skills modules that the schools put a lot of money into, the community college chancellor's office, where they're basically videos where you get to watch people screwing up on social skills. And then, you know, you get to laugh at them and make fun of them. And then you get to watch another version of them doing it the right way. Actually, very fun way to learn those things. And now, that's the soft skills. Yes, sir?
I just wanted to say that I think participating in things like hackathons can also help because you get to work with other people on a project and you get this opportunity outside of a job. So it's kind of less important, but at the same time, you also get those social skills.
Right.
You really have to collaborate to get something done.
Sounds like a perfect situation. You know, the biggest thing that recruiters tell me when I ask them, so what are you looking for? They want people who, if you are at one of the top schools and you've got a 4.0, you know, they kind of give you some slack and assume that you can do things. If you're coming from a non-traditional environment, right, they're really going to want to kind of dig a little bit and see what you can do. And the way that they talk about doing that is they want to hear about the projects that you did. They want to hear you talk about them in terms of the problem that you solved and how it all came out. And they want to hear that you did that with a team. Just the things that you said right there. I think Hackers Club is the practicum for this work that you're doing, right? I know not everybody's in it, but what I hear is that you all are solving some really challenging problems and competing with the best of the best and doing well. It's probably quite a feather to put in one's cap when one goes and applies for a job, I would imagine. So, sure. Okay, some more traditional type stuff. Resumes. I can help you with resumes. The Career Center can also help you with resumes, but the Career Center is not going to be able to tailor your tech experience to a specific job description. I can help you with that. I can help you talk about the theory. I can help you make sure you've got some practical things in there, the keywords, that you've got some stuff in there about teamwork. and that if you have any glaring gaps, that you have a good story to explain those kinds of situations. The reason I have these two samples up here, which one of these do you think is kind of a more attractive resume? Looks like somebody put more time into it, maybe. Which one?
Right.
The one on the right. Right. So this is the resume. Looks great. Be a great web profile page, right? But this resume is not going to make it through a company's HR scanning software. It's going to get jacked up by all the graphics. Okay? It's going to end up in the round file, the digital round file. This one, all the search terms are going to get read. It's pretty much a text file. It's easy to strip it down to the bare minimum that you need to read it. And this is the one that actually will get read and you'll get called back. Okay? It's nice to have this. But make sure you have this also. Also, you're going to save yourself a hell of a lot of time. You're about to ask a question? Okay, let me just finish this one. You're going to save yourself a hell of a lot of time. Anybody ever applied for a job through Cornerstone? No. Okay. A lot of companies are using Cornerstone right now. They don't want to take this as a PDF because it might have a virus in it. All right? And so they strip this down to a bare text file, and then they enter it into their system. They're going to, when you apply to a lot of places, they're going to ask you to strip it down. And the way they're going to do that is they're going to say, upload your resume. And then they're going to say, thank you. Now, put everything from your resume into these text boxes. You're going to have to transfer all of that information over, right? And if you're working off something like this, that's going to be a pain. This is minimal. This has everything. You're going to be able to cut and paste, make a text file, cut and paste, put those things in the Cornerstone app or whatever app they're using, and it's going to be lickety-split. And you will find yourself applying to, 3 times as many jobs because you're ready with this bare bones file. Okay? All right. I'm sorry, what were you going to say, sir?
My question is, strictly one page, or is that negotiable?
So, they used to say 1 page for every 10 years. But realistically, people in the Bay Area, they change jobs every 1.5 years. Okay? And, I think that for maybe entry level, if you haven't done very much, you can do that. But if you have real concrete, solid skills and projects, go ahead and make it 2 or 3 pages. I saw a guy, attended a resume workshop with a guy, a tech guy. He was an older guy, having a hard time finding a job. His resume was 12 pages long with just project after project after project. And you know what? He did get hired shortly after that workshop. Right? He took it down, but it was still 7 or 8 pages. Right? So I don't want to, there's all these rules we have about what to do and what not to do. If that information is the kind of information that's going to knock somebody's socks off, have it in. If it's just filler about a bunch of old things that nobody's doing anymore, no. Okay? It's just like LinkedIn, which we can maybe, let me go to I'll talk about LinkedIn in a second. Newest resume, all right? I'm not going to run the picture, but this woman has a video. Employers go to a website. They click on the video. She tells a very compelling 3-minute long story, right? Very compelling, very emotional. And it also illustrates her skills by the competition she's won. And you want to hire her. If you're competing against her and you don't have the video and everything else is the same, you're screwed. Okay? That is a way to think about employment. All the little things that you can do. Compare yourself to someone who has everything that you have, and then they have this one more little thing. Okay? Really, with applying for jobs, you really kind of gotta, give it your best, do all the extra little things. Just make sure your stuff is in perfect shape, and that nobody can have an edge on you because you didn't do something you should have done. Right? I mean, there are people who are more qualified, but it's not cool to lose a job because you didn't do the little extra thing. It might have cost you, extra time one afternoon or something like that. Make sense? All right, interviewing. How many of you are dreading this? Dreading? Nobody's dreading this? How many have done it? How many are not telling the truth when they say they're not dreading it? Okay, so whiteboard interviews. This is a thing now. even in IT. Richard Wu was telling me people have to sketch out stuff on the whiteboard. And if you don't have this skill, you need to start developing it now. There's going to be some classes coming up here in the future that will touch on this subject. There are meetup groups. There's a Twitter Neighborhood Nest whiteboard interview group. We have a few students going. It's for underrepresented categories, women, Latino, African American, and a few other categories. And then there's, I have a few students now who are interested in practicing whiteboard. We're going to get an instructor in to actually be there and critique. But if you're interested in doing that, I'll send you around the sign-in sheet. And where is that thing, Sam? Did that start going around already? Okay, all right. We get enough people together and we got a regular group. We only need a certain number to show up. Okay, has everybody seen this? I know you haven't, you just got here. It's a sign-in sheet. How many people did not sign it? No, seriously. Okay, all right, that's pretty good. All right, I have a situation where I have students coming to me, how come I didn't hear about this thing that this other person is doing? And I'm like, well, did you sign the sheet when I presented in your class? And they're like, no. Okay, so I send out events, I send out job announcements, I contact people that I think are good for one type of specific job. I will often do that, or especially if it's a new employer, I'll pick somebody who I think is going to make it, right? And you can't have that sort of advantage when, if you don't sign up to the thing and if you don't make appointments, come to meetings, that kind of thing. So I'm encouraging people to do that. And you might want to sign it, right? Okay. How many people are comfortable with the stand up and public speak aspect of that? 1, 2, 3. Wow. Okay. This is a pretty good class. How many people did not raise their hand? 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. So I just want to say, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but you can learn how to do this. All right. I could not stand up and do this when I was 22 years old. I could not. All right. I got asked by some people I respected a lot to teach something, and I ended up going to Toastmasters. And Toastmasters, they'll put you through it, right? You know about it? Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's lots of environments where you can learn how to do the public speaking. We can talk about that more one-on-one. It's very learnable. People think some things are not learnable. They're learnable, right? It just mainly involves taking risks, and if you fail, realizing you don't explode or disappear or die, right? You're still there, and you can go back and do something a little bit differently. Most of the time, the thing you do differently is prepare more. Know the material so well that you have time to worry about the other stuff, okay? That's just a quick hint. We can do more on that. All right, social media. How many of you have LinkedIn pages you're proud of? Ooh, okay. How many of you have, you spend like a little bit of time on your LinkedIn page every month? All right, okay. So I'm going to start this out with a caveat. I always feel like I have to be honest about this. I had a couple folks get hired recently, and they had pretty lame LinkedIn pages. Okay, so it does happen, right? But the reality is that 80% of recruiters' time now is spent on LinkedIn. Looking at people on LinkedIn and posting jobs on LinkedIn. 80% of their time. And 95% of employers look at your LinkedIn page. Okay? So it can't, again, compare yourself to someone, you have equal skills, equal tech skills, equal social skills, and then this person's LinkedIn page is the bomb and yours is not so good. Right? Who's going to get the job? LinkedIn, if you put a little bit of time into it, you can get a lot of effect. Everybody that you meet out there in the tech world, if you just take a few names and connect with them, start building up your connections, you've come across an article you really like, post it, it'll go out to your network, people will like it and comment and follow, and before you know it, you have a okay LinkedIn page. You've just set yourself apart, right, from all those folks who don't have a good LinkedIn page. Okay? Stuart, you got a good LinkedIn page?
Mine's
no?
shitty.
Yours is shitty?
Yeah.
Okay. Somehow I knew that. That's why I asked. Okay, I just talked about LinkedIn. Got a lot of good online resources. I can talk with you about your page. There are some tips and tricks. I got a guy, no LinkedIn page at the beginning of the semester. He took a picture, he did a boot camp before that, and he wanted to get a job. And he took a picture of himself reading the book, You Don't Know Java. Anybody know that book? It's kind of a classic book in JavaScript. And he shared, a guy that he was a bartender, and he met a guy that was a tech executive, and that guy shared that out on his network. And within 2 weeks, he had 500 connections. Okay, that boom, LinkedIn page, done. Okay, 500 connections, 500 followers. He posted a few things, some people liked it. Over, right? No big deal. All right, yes, sir.
From those 500, how many connected with him, and how many did he have to connect with?
They all connected with him because a guy with 3,000 followers shared his post. And they liked the post, and it was just a picture of him sitting there in a chair reading the You Don't Know Java book.
Now that would have been like a really, really cool story if it was a woman that was sitting in a chair reading a book and her story got shared and she got 500 connections.
Okay, so
it seems very easy for a guy to do that, like you kind of expect it.
Hold on now. So when I met him, he was a man. But on another day, he was a woman. Okay? He was transgender. Hope I just didn't out him. But he's already out, so. Yeah, I mean, that's, but you know, when he took that picture, he was male identified. But I have something to say about that, all right? And I have a little section here. There's now the diversity inclusion thing is huge. It's absolutely huge. And there are internship programs that are all about reaching out and trying to bring people in, right? There's a diversity recruiter in every major company and in a lot of small ones, right? I see a lot of women getting hired, okay? If it's what they want to do, okay? And people are looking for you, right? If you're an African-American male and you're doing computer science, right? You go to hiring and recruiting events, they take your name, they keep track of it, and they get back to you. I mean, they're like, it used to be like, oh, now it's like, okay, come on. Right? And I'm not saying it's that way for everybody, for every group, but I mean, if you go on Eventbrite and you look at the tech events, fully half of them are for, you can do it right now, fully half of them are for women, people of color, LGBTQ, veterans, people with disabilities, fully half. And there are real recruiters at those events, and that's why you need to practice your pitch, have a great resume, have a good LinkedIn page. You go there, you meet those people, you get their name and their company name, and then you hit them up on LinkedIn the very next day, and you keep contacting them about different things. You share stuff on your LinkedIn page, it automatically goes into their feed when you share it, so they know who you are over time, and then you apply for the internship, right? Make sense? I'm not saying things aren't hard, but I'm saying I've never seen it. I've never seen such a focus in all my 52 years on hiring. I'm 52 years old, but I've only been doing employment for about 10 years, but it seems to be happening, and I hear about people getting hired, and I've seen employers hone in on folks. All right, go to stuff. I just mentioned Eventbrite. Oh, I have a terrible typo. An computer. All right, so keep your eye on the CCSF Computer Science LinkedIn. I post on there. We don't really use our LinkedIn pages that much. Our CNIT page doesn't have very many people, but the computer science page has a few more. It's really as simple as all of you going there and connecting. The more you connect, the more we post. The computer science page, I post stuff on a regular basis. It's a great way to get access to a whole other huge list of people that you can connect to and build your LinkedIn page. For general information, I post on the Coders Club, CCSF Coders Club. Women Who Code, there's a little dynamo over there named Carrie Lou, who's out like the master networker collecting events from all over the place and posting them on the Women Who Codes group, which, by the way, is now named She Who Codes. Anybody know that? Anybody? Yeah. Okay. It's kind of it's a funny topic over in the computer science department. Why that happened? Linux users group. How many people are into Linux? Okay, not too many. All right. Also, in this school, there are people that you need to know to better your job opportunities. If you are a Linux person, right? For the last few years, you needed to know Greg Boyd, right? Now you need to know maybe Constance, and you might need to know me. I'm doing resumes and cover letters for Greg's students. Some of them have interviews tomorrow. And I know the person, Elizabeth Bautista, who is running that program. Met her a few times. So other people have connections to industry and to a lot of very smart people. There's some folks here. Richard Wu has some connections, but they kind of play their cards close. They keep it close in terms of actual connections because they don't want to burn employers. They want to send really qualified people, all right? And so if you have skills, get in front of them. Like some of you have never gone to office hours. Your teachers might know if you got skills from your grades, but they don't know if you got the soft skills, right? If you sit in class, you don't talk too much, you don't go see them, they don't know that part. And that's one of the biggest things employers say. Yeah, you send me people with tech skills, but hell, they can't get along with anybody. They don't talk to anybody, right? Your instructors are looking at that now too. So get to know them. Show the nice side of yourself. Show the side that they feel comfortable referring onto an employer. Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
How often does it happen that you get that kind of feedback?
I'm sorry, from employers?
Yeah.
All the time. I ask employers, what do you want? What are you looking for? Okay? We're looking for project-based examples of work, problem solving. How did you solve problems in those projects? And we're looking for people with soft skills. We can teach almost anything. And if you stay here longer than a couple of years, we're going to have to teach you something new because that's just how the industry is, right? But the soft skills, they're not teaching the soft skills, okay? It's actually a really big deal in CTE because if we're not career technical education, a certificate, you guys are doing the cybersecurity certificates. It's under the Career and Technical Education Program. In CTE, we're kind of we're not necessarily assuming that you've got that whole long process that people go through where they start entry level and they learn soft skills the hard way, what they got to do, what they don't got to do. You know, a lot of people coming into CTE, they are making career changes. Or they're not going the 4-year route, or they might not end up getting sort of the soft skills development environment that other educational pathways have. I don't know if that makes sense, but and it's not taught. It's not taught. Does that make sense? Have you ever had a soft skills class here? Right? You might get taught in a CBO, but community-based organization, but not necessarily here. And one of the things we're trying to do is kind of bring it into the curriculum a little bit more, bring it into workshops. There's a bunch of neat modules where you can, did I say that already? Tell you about those already? The modules from the California Community College Chancellor's Office where you can watch people doing really bad soft skills type things. I told you about that already? Okay, all right. But, so there's ways to learn it. So they say it a lot, okay? It's real. How many of you ever lost a job probably because of soft skills? Thank you. You're so honest. I appreciate that. Okay? I think I lost a job once because of soft skills. I just thought I was right, you know, and that was the point. It wasn't keeping the job that was the point. It was that I was right and somebody else was wrong. So knowing, you know, that's a special case of choosing your battles and, you know, knowing what to say and what not to say, and letting things go. Don't sweat the small stuff. You had another question.
Well, I knew that employers demand or ask for soft skills, but what you said before was, I believe, that you had feedback about how the soft skills were not good.
Yeah.
Like, so about like specific skills.
Say it again?
I guess. So my question is,
Yeah.
I know that they demand the soft skills, but when you heard back that the soft skills were not good, what exactly were they?
So this is an interesting question, okay? Because there's general soft skills, right? For example, not running your mouth constantly in a meeting, letting other people talk, knowing when to be quiet, knowing when to step up, when to step back. Even if you feel you're right, even if you feel you have the best idea, a lot of us who think we're pretty smart, right? We got the best idea. Well, that best idea didn't get you nothing if you lost your job because you couldn't let it go and somebody else had an idea that everybody thought was better. All right?
Or your boss was threatened.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay? Right? So those are basics. Right? There's other soft skills like meeting facilitation, like how to do project management. If you're working on a team that has project management and you have a piece of something where you're accountable to someone, how you go and talk to them and motivate them to do their part so you can do your part. Those are more sophisticated soft skills. Okay, but the real basic ones, if you just remember the stuff I'm telling you, like don't talk too much. Stop talking before everybody's eyes glaze over. Okay? That you can catch that. If you're watching your audience, if you know your material well enough that you can focus on your soft skills and not just remembering what it is you're trying to talk about, but you can focus on looking at people. Do I got this person? Do I got that person? You know, am I going around the room? One, two, right? Am I doing that? Is anybody feeling unlistened to? Worst situation to be ever in is you're in a group of 5 people, you're interviewing or you're in a meeting, a new meeting, people you've not met before, and you're talking, of those 4, you're talking to the 4 that look like you, right? And you forgot about that other one. It just happens. It's just human nature, right? And then at the end of the meeting, that person's got a frown on their face, you never noticed it, and they're the decision maker. Okay? They're the one who actually gets to decide whether you work there or not. Right? So those are basics. Okay? Those are the kind of things that you can somebody can tell you them, and if you stay aware of them, you can implement them. There's other ones that are harder. We could talk about that too. But a lot of that comes from experience. Sorry.
Good question. In regards to LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn right now, and I can't find the CCSF computer science.
Okay, go to nobody can. Go to the computer science website, the CCSF computer science website, and there's a list of links down there on the bottom right. Yeah, and first thing you'll see on that LinkedIn page is a bunch of my posts about events and things coming up. All right. Good questions about soft skills. Sam, tell me if I need to keep it moving. All right. Internships. Everybody asks me about internships. So the bigger companies get thousands of applications for every internship spot. That's real. How do you raise your profile given that situation? They scan for the top schools. They scan for 4.0s and higher. How do you raise your profile? You meet people at events. You give them your spiel, you give them your resume, you follow up with them on LinkedIn the next day, and you keep communicating with them. That's how you raise your profile. You compete in events. You put that on your resume. If you placed high when you went to Stanford from City College, and you're on that team, you can put that on your resume, and that's going to stand out. You know what's going to make it stand out? The word Stanford. Okay? And then when they actually look at it, if you can do anything that associates you with a big name company or big name university so you can put it on your resume will get noticed a lot more. You'll be being asked for jobs that you're not even qualified for. I'm serious. There's a young woman here. She worked at Google in HR for a year and decided she liked data science and went back to school for that. Now, she gets, and she also, what's the other? Oh, and she did and dropped out of a data science program at Stanford, right? Stanford and Google are on her resume, and she's studying programming here, and she says, I want to be a data scientist. She's getting interview requests to be a data scientist at cloud companies and data analytics companies. That's how powerful just those names are, right? So if you can't associate yourself with them, the scanners, the HR scanners pick up those names, all right? But really, the way that I see most people do it is they go to events, they join projects, and they associate with people, and they use their network. All right? They are the first person that somebody thinks of when they have a position open, because that person has built a relationship with them. So I've heard an interesting statistic. I don't know if it doesn't seem like it could be true. 50% of tech hires come from interns in your company, and the other 50% come from referrals from people in your company and folks from the outside. So if those two numbers were true, nobody, would ever put in an application and just get hired. That's not true. So those numbers are a little, off, but it does illustrate a point. Okay.
So when you're suggesting padding your resume with,
I didn't say padding.
Or when you're
real things you've done.
Right, and you're saying, so they show up for like the recruiters or the headhunters.
Yes.
Are you saying that because they're like literally G-repping for those keywords?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yes.
All right.
Try it. Make a fake resume.
Okay.
Make a resume. This is a great sociological test. Okay, make a resume that has all the same skills and experience, and make up some company name nobody's ever heard of. All right, and then take the same resume and have it be from Google or maybe just try one. Try Google or try saying you went to school at Stanford. It's the only things that are different, and see what happens. That'd be a great project for a sociology major. Okay.
It's been done just changing it from a man to a woman.
Yeah, and the whole names thing too. Yeah, it's pretty scary. And now addresses, right? Yeah, it's pretty sad. Most common question I get recently, it seems, I have older folks asking me, what about older folks? And I tell them I don't have a magic answer for that. Ageism does exist, okay? And yes, it's ageism, but also, there are cognitive declines as we get older. We are just not as fast as some of those younger folks, unfortunately. We get sleepy after lunch a lot of the time too. And so you just have to bring a stronger game, okay? You have to do everything you can do to present yourself as energetic, enthusiastic, alert. You have to really have your verbal game down. A lot of times as people get older, they start getting some more longer, just a few tenths of a second longer pause between the words that they speak, right? All those things, you have to know your stuff so well that you're just doing your best, your absolute best, and you're bringing your A game. And one of the things that they really do value in older folks is the soft skills, right? You've been around for a while, you tend to learn some things about what to do and what not to do. Okay, you've done it well enough so that you didn't end up on the street, right? And then also, some areas, some fields like older folks. Tech writing, they like older folks. A lot of social skills in tech writing. Talking to young subject matter experts. Talking to a lot of programmers, engineers from other places that don't speak English that well. The ability to sit and listen and not lose, not get impatient. Those are qualities that a lot of older folks have. Anything that involves communicating, organizing, even project management. Project management is mainly 90% communication. Right? Older folks tend to be better at communication, understand subtleties and cues, and be more patient. Okay? So anyways, on that. Where'd my thing go here? Okay. Examples for you, Miss. Examples of Reach internships. LinkedIn has internships that are designed for underrepresented folks and folks coming from non-traditional academic pathways. Pinterest has the same thing. Google has a community college internship program. Amazon has internships where they don't mention a bachelor's degree. I just came across some others yesterday from smaller companies that did not mention a bachelor's degree. They said, we want you to have 2 or 3 years of school and then these skills, okay? I don't know what percentage of internships are those kinds of internships, but I do know that they're out there, and I do know that people get them from time to time. I worked with a he's not a young guy, I worked with a middle-aged guy who did the Cisco Skill Zone training program, right? And he ended up getting hired out of that Google contract for a year, an IT contract. And now he's got, I think it's a second interview at this point, with WeWorks. You ever heard of that? It's a human resources company, right? Older guy. Okay, I have to talk about this one. Co-op work experience. How many of you know that you can get school credit for your job that you currently have? Anybody in here transferring to a CSU? Any transfer students? Okay, so this is not really relevant, but just so that you know, you can get school credit that's transferable CSU elective units from doing a regular job. It can be Starbucks, it can be your career, it can be anything. If you have an internship, you get an unpaid internship or a paid internship, you can also have it count as school credit. Okay. If you're a half-time, how many of you have financial aid? Okay, what percent? Full-time? Full-time financial aid?
Like, am I in school?
How many units you got right now?
Oh, not that much this semester.
How many?
I don't remember.
Okay, so if you have 6 units and you're getting half-time financial aid, if you did work experience and you earned 6 units, that semester you would have qualified for full financial aid. Okay, something to think about, something to remember. Grandmaster of CNIT work experience is right here. Sam runs the work experience class. You can come and meet employers and they'll pick you up. I think you had 8 this year? Yeah. Yeah, and I was there. A bunch of employers come in and...
More next time. You want to move to another day?
Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of computer science folks to call too and see if we can get them. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. What did you say about the moving?
Yeah, you wanted to move to another day, that's fine. Just let me know what day works.
Oh, that's okay with you. Okay, great. I was kind of wondering about that. Okay. So, just something to keep in mind. Okay, it might not be applicable to you now, but I never know who's in the room. That might get you an extra couple $1,000s next semester, right? Do you work a job also? Yeah, you can get 6 units for that and get more money. Okay, that's just more on that topic. And that's...
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Does that imply towards your enrollment? So for example, let's say that I need some certain people to compete on a team and they need to be full-time and they're working full-time in the tech industry.
Or at Starbucks.
Or at Starbucks.
Yes.
Do those units...
Yes.
But 197 and 198 only adds up to 3 units. How did they get to 6?
Because you can get 6 in a semester?
Well, I don't know what course to take.
That's what it says on the paperwork. 1 to 6.
Oh, 1, 2, 6.
Well, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
The class is 3, then you get only 3.
Let's explore that.
Yeah, if you find out how, I got people who want to do it.
I want to take more in 1 semester.
Yes.
Okay. So we had a big meeting about this, and we talked about this topic for a long time, and I'm going to have to go back and look at my notes.
Yeah,
John Halpin checked it out and said, yes, they can do it, but
I got
don't
people who want to do it.
don't quote me, okay? All right.
Well, it's all recorded, so that's not necessary.
Great. Thanks. Now I suddenly forgot how to talk.
So we can sue you.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. What's the first rule of suing somebody?
Have money.
They have to have money.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't think of that.
SOL there, man. Okay.
Yeah, you got
You got that on tape, man.
you got a point. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. And do you have any questions? Yes.
Any current apprenticeships that will be coming up or that you know of that
Okay.
we can,
What are you interested in?
anything in tech really,
Any
cybersecurity from programming.
So cybersecurity internships there's not a lot of them out there, right? But there are IT internships. A hugely overlooked area is, like when people think of internships, they're like, I want to work at Facebook, I want to work at Google. Like, you want to work for the city and county of San Francisco? Okay, they opened up their internship program on November 14th. for applications. It's going to close on February 14th. They don't say on the site whether they have IT internships, but they probably do.
And they have security ones too.
They do.
Yeah, I was just at a conference where the head of the transportation department for the city of San Francisco was there. They're like, we're hiring like 25 unpaid interns for the next 6 months.
Really?
Because we're gonna, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Do you have his name?
I have her name and I have her card. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yes.
And so, hear what he just said? The application, you get to, somewhere in the application, pick out from this huge list of types of categories they have available. You get to pick out what it is you're interested in. In your cover letter, you get to say what you're interested in. And I have had really good luck over time getting people into those internships with relatively little training, actually. The trick is a compelling, emotionally moving cover letter. All right? That's always the trick. You make them cry, you make them care. Okay? And then they're so happy to have you there.
So this is for internships, but how about actual apprenticeships where there is an established...
Right. So apprenticeships are really few and far between, right? And we are working on them.
In a year, there'll be that program.
Well, so, info session, December 12th, Tuesday night, 6:30 to 7:30, MUB 170.
Oh, can you repeat that one more time or write it down there somewhere?
So I just finished finalizing it today, and I got the flyer. Yeah, but I have to have the buildings people get back to me. The room's open, but they just have to confirm it for me. But December 12th is a Tuesday.
Yes.
If you want to bring your whole class there, it could be shorter than an hour.
Which
Okay.
MUB you said?
MUB, hopefully MUB 170. If they say yes, which they should, because there's nothing going on in there on that day.
6 p.m.
6:30 to 7:30. 6:30 to 7:30. I'm going to be there. There might be, Richard might be there. I'm not 100% sure, Sam. You can bring your whole class. That'd be awesome. Yeah, it's sort of the formal announcement of the program to the student population. Okay.
It was on Tuesday.
Yeah, December 12th, 2 weeks from the day before yesterday.
All right.
Okay, and then we're going to do another one in January. All right. And we'll tell you how to prepare for that. Give you some. Is that a real dog? Oh wow. Sorry, I just realized that. I'm like, whoa. Okay, all right.
Oh yes, it is a real dog.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of interesting if they're carrying fake dogs around.
Yeah. Well, you know,
That
there
would
are
be like pretty exciting.
there's all kinds here. You know.
I've been asked if she's a stuffed animal before many times.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, cybersecurity, big deal. The first cohort will start in the fall of 2018. There's, just to give you a brief overview, there's 4 classes you need to take in order to qualify. In some of those classes, it's kind of required that you have had other classes to take those classes, basically the beginning IT classes. So it's 106, which I'm sure all of you have had, 120, which CNIT, network security, 121, forensics, and then DNS, okay? However, DNS, how many of you have had it?
Most of them take this.
DNS, this is going to be a question everybody's going to ask. They're going to go home and look at their catalogs and their requirements, and they're going to go, and they're going to call me. So I'm going to answer this question right now. DNS is not going to be offered next fall, right? So for people who meet all the other requirements, they might do, it will be offered next fall. It's not offered in the spring, right?
No, it's not offered next fall.
It's not?
No. Well,
It's not offered in the
Not
spring.
probably in the fall, not in spring.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. I mean,
Yeah.
there are other classes just as good, like this one.
Okay, well,
They're
Well, I don't know what
required.
remember, it's registered with the Department of Apprenticeship Standards. It's like written
Well, I
in
don't know
stone.
anything about that.
Yeah, okay. So, but, I'm sorry. So I made a mistake. It's not being offered this spring, okay? But it will probably be offered in the fall of 2018, and you would be able to take that one class concurrently with whatever else you were doing in relation to the apprenticeship. So 4 classes that are called the pre-apprenticeship classes, and then an 18-month internship where you're apprenticeship where you're working like 30 hours a week and getting paid around 20-something an hour. That'll depend on each place. And you'll do that for 6 months. And then the next 6 months you'll get paid more. And then the next 6 months you'll get paid even more. And then hopefully you get hired. During those 6-month periods, you will be taking classes. There's 5 classes you need to take during that whole thing. An interesting question is if you've already taken those classes already. You can't take them with the apprenticeship, or maybe you will take them over again. Who knows? What does that mean? These are some things we don't really know the answers to yet. Okay? But the way to poise yourself is to make sure you have those 4 classes, right? Make sure you have the basic IT stuff as well. Right? If you missed something, if you missed Windows servers, right, to go into an apprenticeship program where you're actually working with computers, you might want to have had that class. Yes? You think it's a good idea? Probably? Yeah, okay. So we'll talk more about it, answer more questions. First cohort, 25 students in the fall. Next cohort, 25 students in the spring of 2018. All right? Remember...
So it is starting in spring 2018?
No. Cohort, did I say spring? If I said spring, I'm sorry. First cohort, fall 2018. Second cohort, spring 2019. Okay? 2019. Okay. Thanks. This is good practice for me for that presentation.
Good.
Thank you. Things to remember. So the people who get into the internship program are going to be people who we expect can. So I'm actually on this grant. I'm in charge of recruiting students as well as supporting them to help them make it through. And we are looking, so they're going into a real work environment with employers who we've just convinced to take apprentices and spend the time training them, right? So what are we going to be looking for in the applicants in addition to tech skills?
Soft skills.
Soft skills. The ability to persist through that 18-month program, to not get bogged down and overwhelmed and quit, right? And to not get hired out, right? If you get hired into the company, that's great. But to not get hired out somewhere else, we're going to, we will be trying to figure out who you are in relation to those things. You got good soft skills, you're going to cut and run, you're going to get overwhelmed. IT can get pretty intense. People sometimes, it's too hard and they don't tell anybody, and then something goes wrong and then they run away, right? We're trying to figure out, who's going to make it, who has the persistence, the resiliency. Okay, so all those things to think about. I don't know if I'll be talking about those things to the other when I make the presentation, but we've been talking about some of that stuff here, so you got the inside scoop. Okay, any other questions before? Thank you, Sam, for giving me all this time.
Well, I think this is fine. And that's stuff I was going to talk about. We'll just do it next week. This is enough. But people were very interested. That's why it's fine. Okay. These guys are very interested in job skills.
Thank you. Thank you.